So one of my favorite devices for my Raspberry Pis is my 7-inch touchscreen display. And since I've done a couple videos having SEGA emulation and things like that, I was thinking a SEGA Switch would be kind of cool. Here I have my Raspberry Pi, my 7-inch official Raspberry Pi touchscreen. This one is a B, not a B+. My case is actually not compatible. Well, the screen case you see is not compatible with the B+. I could Dremel out the back to allow for the spacing for the jumper pins for the power over or the PoE for power over Internet, but there's no point. I already have this, and it's just SEGA emulation. So here you'll see there's the driver board and everything for the monitor. It mounts on with standoffs, which is very nice, and you'll see in the corner there's actually some screw spots too, which will be used to actually put it in the case. And then this case was a separate item. It didn't come with it. I have a couple different cases, and this one actually is my favorite because of the stand. I have been using it as a MAME system, but that's going to change here eventually. We'll see. I have a lot of projects going. I always say I'm going to do something, and then there's always something new I'm going to do. But I'm feeding through the ribbon cable and the jumper wires. The jumper wires are what are giving its power to the Raspberry Pi. There is a USB spot on the board, and you can use that for power. And what that does is by having it set up that way, you can use one power supply. And you'll see it actually fits really nice and flush in here. They did a really good job. Both companies who made the 7-inch touchscreen, which once again, it is the official one. It's 800 by 480. It can handle up to detection of 10 fingers. With RetroPie, that does not actually support touchscreens, so that feature is actually useless for this project. But other than that, it does use the DSI port. It's actually the only monitor I've ever used that does. I've used ones that go off the GPIO pins or an HDMI jumper piece. But this one doesn't, which is kind of nice. But 4 screws, you just put them in like right here, and that'll seal it in. Once you have it in there, it's very flush, very nice fit. Even considered using this for like a dash mount of some sort in my car. But then I decided that I'd probably keep it for a game related because it is nice to have right on the counter with such a nice stand. But like I said, you can see that it's very smooth finish, like it just sits in there perfectly. And then in the back here, you'll see that there is room for the Raspberry Pi. You'll see that there's these 4 nubs here, actually 3 nubs. The upper right-hand corner is open for a screw to go through to hold it in place. And I know it's hard to tell on here, especially with me shaking around and stuff, but you can kind of see it in the hole there. But on the first or the outer row of the GPIO pins, the second one is power and the third one is ground. And that's all you have to hook up in order to have it power off one source. So I can actually plug USB into either the screen or the Raspberry Pi to power it up. In hindsight, maybe I should have left it separate. But then here we have the DSI ribbon that'll go in. And the whole time I'm doing this, here's one benefit to being very shaky, is I'm just trying to shake that in there to get it in there, because holding it for the camera is actually making it probably easily 10 times more difficult. But once it's in there, it's really not too bad. You get it all lined up and then push down. Carefully, you can break the plastic. Always be careful with that. But that's in there. I gave it a little tug and it's holding in there. So then from there, I can actually put the back on. You'll see right here is where I was talking about the screw hole. But you know, the back's enough to hold it in place. So once you get that in there and you snap it down, it's secure in there. It's not going anywhere. Just make sure you're not pinching any of your cables or anything. You'll see I'm pulling out the ribbon a little bit because it's pushing up against the heat sink in there a bit, which I'll come back later to take care of. And then you'll also see at the top here you have like a Lego mount, and then there's a slit in the back right here. That's where the cable for the camera goes, and then the camera come out here, as you can see on the picture on the left. It did come with that mount and everything, but for me, I'm not actually using the camera, so that's why I'm not putting it in there. And then here's one of the power supplies, that's Raspberry Pi, and then this one here is on the board for the monitor itself. Either one will power both, because I did run those jumper cables. In hindsight, maybe I might actually take those jumper cables off and power both. It's very tricky to get them in there. You'll see I actually just jumped over here to the other one to get it in there. But even though I'm a big advocate of my CanaKit 2.5 amp 5 volt power block, it does draw too much juice with the monitor, so having maybe two separate supplies would be a good idea. But here I have a card that has SEGA games on it that I put in, and once it loads up here, I'll jump into Afterburner for the master system, and then yeah, you can see I have access to all the sides there. I threw the network cable in. I'm going to do a scraping for more box covers. I'm missing a few, but then I have my regular Retrobit official SEGA re-release USB 6-button controller, actually 8-button controller because it does have the shoulder buttons on it. I really am liking this this controller, and it does a great job being set up. So in the menu here, I can go back and forth. Everything's fine. The camera really doesn't do it justice because it's, you know, it's adjusting for the brightness of the screen and everything. But here's where I'll jump into Afterburner, and there are some adjustments I'm going to have to make because right now it's fitting the screen fine. But as you can see, as it goes into Afterburner, that's more of a 4:3 ratio instead of a 16:9. But overall, it's pretty much where I want to have it. I have thought of actually gutting open one of my Game Gears or something like that, and actually I still might do that because I have a 3.5-inch screen too that I can still use, and a 5-inch, but the 3.5 might be good for a dead Game Gear I have, and that way I could make one of those. But I do want to maybe get another one of these controllers and actually just, well, I could use a teensy board too, but otherwise I was thinking of gutting it out to make like a Switch style Sega Genesis. Master System, 32X, you know, all of them, and put that together. But yeah, otherwise, pretty fun to play. The screen looks really good. It does have great range of view from left to right, and as long as you're using a Raspbian type image, so RetroPie is on Raspbian, it works just fine. There's nothing extra you really have to do, at least not for me. Some people have complained that the image is inverted, it's upside down. That's actually was not the case for me, but maybe it's a case thing. But it's not a big deal. All you have to do is, well, I shouldn't say it's not a big deal, but you know, just a quick Google of how to flip your screen. It's just a configuration change. It's not a big deal once you do it, and it's actually something good to maybe know. But other than that, hope you liked the video and stay tuned for more changes on this setup. Thanks.